I think like Astra, Viper, Raze right now is like a core three are super strong. In terms of smokers, there's value to be seen depending on how you want to play it. Like you'll see a lot of post plant play in EU, so that's where obviously you can bring a Brimstone in. But Omen's Flash still the best in the game. Still cannot be touched in that department. So there's a lot to be said for the smoking role. There's a lot to be said about playing Sentinel or playing Viper as a core Sentinel slash controller with Astra backing her up. There's a lot that can be done, but I think right now, like your Astra Raze combinations are very strong from a lot of teams. Again, it's map dependent, but I think Astra can pretty much be played anywhere. And then Viper, even with the nerf that she received, which she lost 20 damage on her wall, so now when you walk through her wall, you instantly lose 30 HP instead. In buy rounds, in certain scenarios, that might not make much of a difference, but certainly still for pistols, it's pretty huge. And an MR12, when you've got pretty much free pistol control, that gives you a lot to work with rather. So yeah, I think those are the three kind of core agents, but the beauty of Valorant is that there's never going to be like a correct way to play it. It'll be the way that you have interpreted as a team that fits your players, and then it comes up against another that's equally as viable, and it's all about how you use it, and most importantly, how you adapt. That's the thing, like being able to think on your feet and adapt to whatever comp your enemies are running or how they're using it is just the number one most important thing, regardless of what comp you're running.
Yeah, and I think like you know, for me, gunplay kind of always reigns supreme in this game because I always got to have faith in like the 1v1 and the guy to do it. But you know, you have to like respect the metas, and maybe it's not like the meta, but this whole post plan stuff, like you have to have the utility. So I fully agree with you there on the comp side because there's so much vulnerability spells or like decays, and it's like chip damage, double damage, and like the way that some teams are playing, you don't really have that many teams that are like implementing Skye that has like heal, or Sage that her heal got nerfed, or even Skye and Sage. Can you even do that with some of these styles? I mean, it's kind of like, I don't even know if we're at the stage in Valorant where teams can sort of like counter picking a comp to a specific meta type comp yet. It's almost as if you have to kind of respect it, or kind of go, you could even go like halfway there if you want, but you do have to know that there are some teams out there that are going to kind of abuse on some of these things, like these delays, these utility battles, because when you have people like, whether it's like the post plant meta or even the time drain meta on like CT side, like, you know, some of these teams that they constantly like default slow things down, like the number one rule, at least that I've always had, is to kind of be very stingy with your utility, because if teams are defaulting and not getting onto bomb sites, they're not really doing anything, so why are you wasting your utility, right?
Yeah.
If you end up draining the clock, being more respectful of the clock that's around there, and you kind of like start keeping tabs like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds left, and you kind of start doing that, you start chipping down at how much time is left based on how much utility you have. And teams that typically default play a little bit slower, you can just completely dominate them and choke them out with the utility. And with this, now that you can, you know, swirl people off of bomb sites or diffuses and plants, and you can, you know, put tons of smokes in front of places you got to force them to run through, or damaging abilities. I mean, if you're not doing a good job of clearing utility in this kind of meta, you're going to get destroyed, especially if the clock is not on your side.